ceremony of China's Shenzhou-13, because we know that 3 taikonauts have just arrived in the capital city of Beijing on a plane, and they arrived from Inner Mongolia after spending 6 months aboard China's first space station. And you're watching the live feed of the plane arriving in Beijing from Inner Mongolia. The 3 astronauts are Zhai Zhigang, Wang Yaping, and Guangfu. And they've been giving some interesting lessons to pupils around the world, and allowed a lot of children around the world to ask questions to them about what's the work like in space and how to become an astronaut. Of course, Beijing Aerospace Control Center earlier has declared that the Shenzhou-13 mission was a big success. And we are joined in the studio by Professor Yang Guang from China's. We will be talking to Professor Yang Guang from the China Aerospace Science and Industry Cooperation later. We will give you a special coverage on the welcoming ceremony of the China Shenzhou-13 mission. Okay, so let's bring in Professor Yang here. So you've been tracking a lot of past events regarding space launches and welcoming ceremonies like this. So what's your biggest impression about the progress of China's space missions?
Today's successful landing is also very meaningful to me because Yaping is my good friend. I'm so happy that she can get home.
Okay, they just told me that we have to. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit because we have another story to run. astronauts have just arrived at the capital city of Beijing after living in low Earth orbit for 6 months aboard China's first space station, the Tiangong. Earlier, the crew of 3 touched down at the Dongfeng landing site in northern China's Inner Mongolia. All of them are in good shape and have just arrived at Beijing Shijiao Airport. And you're looking at the live pictures of their arrival. The plane carrying the 3 astronauts have arrived in the Chinese capital city, and of course, after 6 months living in space, the 3 astronauts are in good shape. And we are waiting for the door to open. Of course, during the mission, they held several rounds of lessons from space for pupils around the world and allow them to ask questions. We heard some interesting ones, for example, how to become an astronaut in the future and what's the life like in space, and how will their body change after returning to Earth, after living in space for such a long time. Earlier on a Saturday morning, the Shenzhou-13 separated from the space station and it carried out a series of operations, including separating the orbital module from the re-entering capsule.
The manned space mission is a human-oriented mission, and from this morning we can discover that there are a lot of details in the process and facility that consider the convenience and comfort of all the taikonauts. And this morning, on 9:56, the return capsule of Shenzhou-13 spaceship has returned to our motherland and has been successfully landed. And after 1 hour, they have successfully landed in Chinese territory, and they are welcomed by cheers and warm faces. The crew of Shenzhou-13 safely return not only signifies the successful mission of this Shenzhou-13, but also the complete of the technical verification phase. Shenzhou-13 crew has also created history in terms of staying in space, and they have set out in winter, and now they have returned in warm spring.
During the landing, the capsule deployed its
The Shenzhou-13 flight mission is quick, accurate, and stable. Different from previous missions, they have adopted this quick return technologies after separating from the space station earlier this morning. They have finished this process in about 5 hours, and they have returned to Earth in about 9 hours, which I think is substantially improved the comfort and experience of the taikonauts. And second, stability. And today we saw that the landing of the capsule is in an upright position, which is quite rare because will help the taikonauts to readjust to gravity. We've saw in our previous live streams that all the taikonauts are in perfect conditions. In the Dongfeng landing site, we discovered many very considerate arrangements that are people-centered. There are 3 medical vans which are specially redesigned with a lot of equipment and facilities, including the bathroom and microwave. The taikonauts can take a rest on the van, and after getting out of the capsule, they were carried on the shift and then carried into the van to take a rest. And right now we can see that the cabin door is closed, is open, and now we see Mr. Zhai Zhigang, the commander of the mission. Zhai Zhigang has been changed into this normal clothing because they were wearing in-capsule spacesuit earlier, and now they've changed into usual clothes. We can see that he is in perfect shape. We want to do some explanation why Mr. Zhai Zhigang is not walking on his own. This is to better protect the taikonaut, because this kind of microgravity situation will impact the skeleton as well as the muscle of the taikonaut. So after landing, we have to protect them. And now his son is presenting him flowers with a warm embrace. His son is Zhai Tianxiong. Tian means sky. Does that imply that he will probably work in space missions in the future? We can now see that Zhai Zhigang is waving at us. We can see that our engineer, Wang Wei is also waving back. They are a big family. After this, his arrival, he took a short interview saying that he wants to thank all the supporting teams, the engineers on ground. Although there were only 3 people in the space station, there are a lot of other people, engineers that are working underground. And we now see the second taikonaut, taikonaut number 2, Wang Yaping, at the cabin gate. She was born in 1980 in Yantai. And we can see that she wears a very big smile on her face. And the one that present the flower to her is her daughter, and her mom, who came to reach the stars, has now returned. And we can see that her daughter is wearing a red clothes. It must be like a new year to the family after 3 months, and they have this after such a long mission, and they finally reunite. And we are waiting for the third taikonaut, Guangfu. to get off the flight. I think we were all very impressed by his first report, saying that they are feeling well. And in the first report, Mr. Ye also mentioned that I will be feeling fine next time also. And now we see Ye Guangfu at the door. I'm sure that he is also feeling very well at the moment. He used to be a boy that was born in the rural areas, and now he has become a taikonaut that traveled across the sky. He once said to the young students, well, we can see that this is his wife presenting the flowers while giving him a warm embrace. After half-year's mission, a warm embrace can erase all the fatigue and tiredness from the mission, I'm sure. And so we saw that their kids, their husbands and wife have came to visit them. I think behind their stories, they are also mother to someone and fathers and husband to others, but they have made a lot of sacrifices to complete their mission. Today they have finally returned. I believe that the day of reunion must be such a comfort and consolation to all the family members. And today we can see that it's a very sunny day. We can see that all the taikonauts have boarded the vehicles, and they will be driving to the aerospace apartments to undergo some treatment and rest. So after about half-year's rest and adjustment, they will be returning to work and training. This is the vehicle with Zhai Zhigang on board. We can see that the medical workers are accompanying him. He is sitting in a chair with a very big smile. The manned spaceflight missions leaders will also be sending them off. At the apartment, there will be another welcome ceremony, and more co-workers and family members are waiting for them. And we can see from their posture, their expressions, that they are truly feeling well after this long mission and after the examination of the medical workers. And I believe that we can also attribute this to the landing position, which is an upright position for the return capsule. Now we can send them off. You must be also very interested about their recovery process and exercises in this adjustment period. There will be 18 categories for recovery exercises, combining modern and traditional medicines. And the TCM is also applied, such as acupuncture, massage, and so on. They will also be using some weight-reducing exercises. using facilities that are installed in water. Today we also see some familiar faces, such as the chief engineers and commander of manned space mission. We wish them a speedy adjustment to gravity and speedy recovery so that they can return to work and training as soon as they can.
That's a pretty quick welcoming ceremony at the airport, welcoming back the China Shenzhou-13 mission crew. Meanwhile, our reporter Zheng Yibing joins us now in Beijing for the latest. Hi, Yibing, what's the schedule of the 3 astronauts once arriving in Beijing? What about the recovery process?
Well, Sachin, let me share with you my feeling at the current time at the airport in Beijing. And this is a very important moment for everybody here and for people around China and the world. And after a brief welcoming ceremony here in this airport, they've been escorted to their base. The 3 members are Major General Zhai Zhigang, who is the commander of the team, Senior Colonel Wang, the female Chinese astronaut, and we just seen her daughter just greeted here at the airport, and Senior Colonel Guangfu, he's just went into the space for the first time. He just sitting in the caravan here just next to me. They arrived at the airport after the 2-hour flight from the Dongfeng landing site in Zhou in the Mongolia Autonomous Region. At 5 p.m., the crew members got out of the plane one by one with the help of the personnel from China Manned Space Agency. They were smiling, waving to people at the site just a moment ago, and they were looking good, just like when they got off the re-entry capsule at the Dongfeng landing site this morning, saying that I'm feeling good. The 3 were greeted by their family senior officials. They were viewed by many as heroes as their mission marks the finishing of the nation's longest manned space flight, with the 3 taikonauts or astronauts staying in orbit some 400 kilometers above the Earth for 183 days, while this almost doubled the previous record of 92 days created by their peers in the Shenzhou-13 mission, who traveled with Tiangong from mid-June to mid-September last year. The 3 will be sent back to their base now and get some good rest and join with their families after this 6-month-long space journey. They were the 2nd inhabitants of China's permanent space station, Tiangong, and the mission marks the beginning of the next step of construction of the station. Back to you.
Thank you, Yibing, for the latest from the airport in Beijing. And finally, I get the chance to talk to Professor Yang Guang from the China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation. So, Professor, as we talked earlier, what impressed you the most in the past few launches and missions?
Well, what impressed me most being a technician is 6 months duration. You see that in the future, the normal turnover of each expedition team of the Tiangong space station will be 6 months. So before the normal operation of our station, we must answer the question, can our astronaut stay in the outer space keep their house for 6 months? So we don't have this kind of experience before. So although we've already had the Shenzhou-13 mission with 3 months, also a long-term duration in space, but we do not, this time the time is doubled. We can see today that the astronauts are in very good status, and they are even more energetic than the Shenzhou-12 crew. So this means that the measures we used on the station, the schedule arrangement of the exercise every day using the treadmill, the space bicycle, and also other equipments are very effective in keeping them healthy. And also, this means that the life support and environmental control system, which is a regenerative system, is also very effective to support the life, the daily life in outer space. So this is the most important thing for our Shenzhou-13 mission.
Yeah, let's talk about the specific measures to keep them healthy, because we know that conditions in space are pretty different from here on Earth. And I mean, after such a long time in weightless conditions, I mean, the astronauts' muscles, bones, their blood flow are all, different and sort of vulnerable. So what are the measures taken to keep them healthy?
Well, we should also notice that the 3 astronauts themselves are also the objects of the scientific research of the space medicine and also space biology. So during their whole procedure, their residence in the Tiangong space station, they not only do exercise every day, but also the nutrition, their daily food is also very important to keep them healthy. Although maybe, you know, that's Ye Guangfu, Miss Ye is come from Sichuan, so maybe he likes the spicy food, and Yaping is from Shandong, and she's a girl, she likes sweetie food, and Mr. Zhai Zhigang is from northeast China. So they, although this has many differences, but also you know that the Chinese food have so many different styles, so they can not only meet their daily requirement, but also keep them healthy, the calcium and other nutritions. So this also is part of the scientific research, and also you know that today we get a faster return from the space station back to the Earth. Maybe during this duration, their residence in the station, they have got many samples, such as the blood and also other samples for the space medicine research. So a faster return means that we have the condition to get these samples by the ground tour as fast as possible. This is also a great support to the future scientific research on board the station.
How long can they, you know, go back to actual work after this mission?
Well, usually it takes 2 to 3 months. But first, they will have about a quarantine procedure about 2 weeks long. So this is because you know that they stayed in the station for so long time, and only 3 persons there. So the microbe, the environment, such as the bacteria, the germs, and also the virus, the environment is quite different from the Earth.
Exactly.
Yes. But there are similar examples. You see that in the Antarctic region, usually the scientific research staff do not have any cold. But when they get back to China, usually they will have easily to be infected. So it is similar.
Okay, and then you mentioned the fast return technology. What is so special about this technology, and how China has achieved it?
Well, the key point is that the whole downloading procedure from the undocking of the Shenzhou spaceship from the station, and also so many separations between different modules, and also the orbit insertion to the re-entry trajectory, and also the deployment of the parachute. So many critical operations. Each one is critical for the lives of our astronauts. So we should compact of all these operations within 9 hours. This is depends on the we are more experienced and more practical than before, so we have confidence to perform this kind of fast return procedure. But on the other hand, it also we get advantages from that. You know that the space station in the volume is about 50 cubic meters, while the Shenzhou spaceship, the volume total sum is only about 7 cubic meters. So the astronauts will feel more comfortable if they can get home as fast as possible.
Is there any emergency measures if something goes wrong during the return?
Exactly. You see that the during the normal descending procedure today, the maximum or the peak G force is about 3 to 4, 4 times than their own mass. Okay. But in the emergency case, it can reach to 8 to 10. So before their flight missions, they must be trained on the ground to not only they can afford these high G load, high G forces, but also they should have the operation capability with this environment.
Yeah, just give our viewers a sense of how difficult it is. I mean, but comparing to roller coaster, how much of a pressure is on those astronauts' body?
Well, not only we have already discussed about the G forces caused by the deceleration of the vehicle, but also there are very intensive vibrations because the interaction between the re-entry capsule and the aerodynamic forces. So the astronauts must be trained before the mission. I mean, they will stay there and simulate the vibration. And also after landing, you know that maybe they will, as you have mentioned, an emergency case, they can land it to somewhere do not have the rescue teams. So they must have the ability to survive before maybe several hours, maybe several days until the rescue team reach them.
Is there anything special about the landing site?
Yes, you may notice this is the second time of the crewed missions to land on the Dongfeng landing site. Before we used the Wang banner landing site. There are several differences because you know that the Dongfeng landing site, the total area is more than 13,000 square kilometers. So it's much larger than the Wang banner and is less populated. So that's the reason we use this place. And also it's near to the Zhejiang Satellite Launch Center. So it will be very cost effective for us to keep a standing by rescue team.
And the Shenzhou-13 crew, the taikonaut trio, Zhai Zhigang, Wang Yaping, and Guangfu have returned to China after 183 days in space, and they've set many milestones this past 6 months. And their smooth return has given more cause for celebration. Sun Ye has this report.
The Shenzhou-13 crew are home. At 9:56 a.m. Beijing time, the Shenzhou-13 return capsule touched down in the Gobi Desert of northwestern China. The medical support team said they are in good condition. The crew, known for making the words "I feel fine" their catchphrase in space, repeated their mantra, this time safely home on Earth.
是特别棒的啊。
They are in great shape, from analyzing the data over the return trip to how they've communicated with the ground personnel. It all shows that they are in great condition.
For the ground team that pulled in all-nighter monitoring every detail of the Shenzhou-13's return, they are in high spirits as they chant, "Welcome home." Today at the Beijing Control Center, the room has exploded with so many rounds of applause that I have lost track, but it has really been a meaningful success.
我们采用了快速的5圈返回的方式。
We adopted a faster return procedure this time. All the preparations went smoothly. The accuracy of the return, including the landing point, was very precise. We also deployed a very efficient search and rescue operation. The re-entry capsule landed in an upright position, providing very good conditions for the astronauts to exit and readjust to gravity. We saw the 3 astronauts exit one by one, and they were all in good condition. The return mission was perfect.
With the success of the Shenzhou-13 crew's mission, the development of China's space station enters a new stage.
这个关键技术验证阶段已经圆满的收官。
The stage of key technology verification for the Chinese space station has been a complete success. We are now ready to turn to the Shenzhou-14 and Shenzhou-15 missions, which are on very good footing.
奠定很好的基础啊。
His hopes are shared by the space engineers and the industry's professionals who look forward to more complete successes. CGTN, Beijing.
So the 3 astronauts, Zhai Zhigang, Wang Yaping, and Guangfu, have arrived in Beijing after 6 months in space. As we wrap up the show, let's take a look back now at their journey home. Thank again Professor Yang Guang. He is from China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation for his insights on today's show. I'm Xiacheng in Beijing, and thank you for being with us for this special coverage on the welcoming ceremony for the 3 astronauts back home. Thanks for watching.
下周发射目标，梅州2号跟踪正常。
落点纬度北纬41度39分高1秒，北纬41度39分高1秒。
我是神舟13号，我已安全着陆，返回舱降临。